India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi embarked on a 3-day visit to the United States of America. Meeting with US President Joe Biden is the first in his agenda on Saturday, during which both leaders will discuss issues of mutual importance as well as issues related to global and regional development. On Saturday, Prime Minister Modi will also take part in the Quad Summit, which will provide him with the opportunity to interact with Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese, Prime Minister of Japan, Fumio Kishida, along with President Biden on pressing global issues, Indo-Pacific, including the situation in Ukraine as well as the Israel-Hamas war. The Prime Minister will participate in the UN Summit of the Future at the UN headquarters in New York on Monday. Before this, on Sunday, he is slated to address a gathering of Indian diaspora in New York's Long Island. In his departure statement, Prime Minister Modi said, I quote, "The Quad Summit has emerged as a key group of the like-minded countries to work for peace, progress and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region. Meeting with President Biden will allow to review and identify new pathways to further deepen India-US comprehensive global strategic partnership. Eagerly looking forward to engaging with the Indian diaspora and important American business leaders who are the key stakeholders and provide vibrancy to the unique partnership between the largest and the oldest democracies of the world. The Summit of the Future is an opportunity for the global community to chart the road ahead for betterment of the humanity." All right, Shubhendu Ghosh is joining us from New York. Shubhendu, we've just given a broad outline of the agenda of the Prime Minister in US during his visit. He will be attending the Quad Summit in Delaware, in Wilmington, which is the hometown of President Biden. Now, we know that the US is readying for a change in leadership. Given that, how significant is the Quad Summit this year?
It's hugely significant, Preeti, the Quad Summit. This is the 6th time that the leaders are meeting and 4th time in person. Yes, it is a moment of transition, you could say, for United States, but the issue, agenda and the vision of Quad really is more expansive than a certain change in political leadership. And we also know that Quad has a bipartisan support as far as the United States is concerned. There are many key priorities, and Quad has successfully expanded its scope and its application beyond the immediate security concerns in the region of the Indo-Pacific. It today represents a more holistic 360-degree development partnership between the Quad partner countries, namely India, Japan, Australia and the United States. And the interesting thing about this partnership is that it is not just aimed at the welfare and the empowerment of these 4 countries, but of the entire region. Whether we talk about health infrastructure, whether we talk about infrastructure, whether we talk about financing or emerging technologies, the developments that take place between these Quad partners have the potential to positively impact the entire region. So in that sense, it's a hugely important Quad summit that Prime Minister Modi will be participating. His very first engagement as he reaches United States, and this time over the focus is also going to be agreements in the health sector, particularly the breakthroughs that the Quad leaders are likely to announce in the domain of cancer research and treatment. So those are some of the highlights we're looking forward to.
All right, Shubhendu, the Prime Minister will also be attending the UN Summit of the Future. Help us get more as to what is it that the summit will be focusing on, given the way the world is staring at the geopolitical challenges, be it the war between Russia, Ukraine, or the tensions between Israel and Hamas.
Absolutely, it's a critical period for the world as far as the current geopolitics is concerned. Preeti, you rightly mentioned that the conflicts in different parts of the world, whether Ukraine or in Gaza, have the impact of jeopardizing the development vision of the rest of the world. In that sense, the idea of Summit of the Future has truly come up at a very critical time. The idea is also that a lot of promises of sustainable development, climate mitigation that were made in the past decade have not been met. The manner in which the leaders had agreed to solve the world's problem as far as climate is concerned, as far as technology intervention, sustainable financing, reforms of multilateral institutions were promised. Those have not taken shape as they were promised, and therefore it is an important and the right time for the world leaders to once again come together, take stock of the direction in which current geopolitics is headed in multifaceted area, and do a sort of course correction, if I may use that word, because there still may be time for many catastrophic changes in climate, in conflicts, to be avoided in the years and decades ahead. So the critical juncture that world leaders are meeting, rightfully termed Summit of the Future, because what they decide in this summit is surely going to impact the future generations in a big way.
All right, Shubhendu, you're there in New York. The Prime Minister will also be holding bilateral meetings. The Prime Minister will also be interacting with the Indian diaspora at a community event. Let us get what is, did you capture the nerve of the people there? Are they excited to welcome the Prime Minister? What are you witnessing?
Oh, absolutely. So first, just briefly about the bilaterals. Yes, day one, the bilateral with the US President is going to be a crucial one. United States is one of the biggest trade partners for India, with a bilateral trade volume at around $190 billion. United States also an important source of FDI for India. India has also significantly invested in companies, in avenues in the United States. So in that sense, hugely significant bilateral meeting. The diaspora aspect is also very crucial as far as the meeting of the leadership is concerned. Coming to the mega diaspora program that Prime Minister would be participating in, that would be the event of day two of his visit. This is taking place at Long Island at Nassau Stadium, which is a mega stadium where Prime Minister would be meeting some 15,000 Indian Americans who've come from across approximately 40 American states, and they've all gathered to hear Prime Minister. Speaking to a few of them earlier today, and they said that from the earlier presence that Prime Minister had in the United States, Madison Square, they waited for a long time for Prime Minister to come back to the United States to address the diaspora in a big way once again. So there is a lot of excitement at the Nassau Stadium. There would be cultural performances. A sort of mini India has been created to welcome Prime Minister and celebrate the shared heritage of the Indian Americans. Preeti?
All right, so Prime Minister will be having a packed schedule in the US during his 3-day visit. Thank you so much, Shubhendu, for joining in with those details.